Morning, Shane. Welcome back to Blue Notes on the morning of the bank's full year result. Headline result down 18%. Didn't look so good. Can you talk us through the moving parts, the good and the bad?
Sure, and there's lots of good in the result, but I accept that the headline's down. What really drives that headline result is what we've termed specified items. That's just code for the financial impact of a number of very positive decisions that we've taken as a group to transform and build a better bank for customers and shareholders in the long term. And some of those decisions came at a cost in the short term. So that's what's driven the headline down. If you look through that and just park those aside for a minute, the core business, our underlying business, did well. We continue to grow market share. We're continuing to have more customers choose to bank with ANZ. We're getting the benefit of some new products that we've launched out into the market. But on the other hand, it's also been a reasonably tough environment in the economy here, starting to see a little bit of stress here and there in the places. So I'd say it's a decent result in a year which you would term as a transitional year.
So it is a tough operating environment. Are you seeing it ticking down, ticking up? Where do you?
Well, it's a really hard one to read, to be perfectly honest. I mean, on headline numbers, certainly here in Australia, the economy's in pretty good shape. The economy continues to grow. Unemployment is pretty moderate. Interest rates, as we know, are at all-time lows. The currency is accommodating for most parts of the economy. But then on the other hand, there are a lot of people in the economy doing it hard, whether they're individuals or whether they're businesses. And so we're starting to see little signs and signals of stress through the economy. It's nothing to be alarmed about from our perspective, but we've decided that it's enough that we should just take a cautious approach to growth in the future.
You've been in the job for 9 months, effectively. A lot of the focus has been on simplifying the bank, simplifying businesses, getting more efficiency. Is that evident in these numbers, and over what time frame should we see that come through?
I think it's starting to be evident. You're right. Look, the world in which we operate is different than it has been in the past, and our business is just kind of recognising that change and recognising that in order to be a good performing business, we need to focus far more on how we get things done. And a lot of that is to do with streamlining and productivity. And we're starting to see the benefits of that come through. We have less people in the bank than we've had in the past. We actually have less customers too in the institutional bank, which sounds a bit odd, but that's actually a good thing because we're retaining the customers that really value what we do for them. We've changed the way we run the organisation. We've made it simpler. We've had fewer senior managers in the place. So those benefits are just starting to emerge. Our cost performance was the best it's been in 16 years.
So that's presumably coming from the simplification process. Nevertheless, there's been a lot of announcements. I mean, there was, over the last week or so, there's been 3 announcements. Today you're adding wealth, the sale of the wealth business in Australia to the mix. Is this what we're going to look forward to over the next year? A lot more incremental announcements?
Maybe not quite as regular as that over the next year. But the reality is we are rebalancing our business. And inevitably, in a time when you're rebalancing and going through transition, things will change. And so some businesses will be sold. We will make some announcements about the way we think about the business. And when they have financial impacts, we have a responsibility to keep the market up to date. So look, there's probably going to be more one-off announcements than we have traditionally seen in the past. I actually think that's a good thing. It says that this is an executive team who's getting things done. And we're getting things done at a reasonable pace, and I think that's good for customers and it's good for our shareholders.
And to focus on the wealth decision that was announced today for the wealth business in Australia, what's behind that thinking and how long will that process take?
So what we've announced is we continue to look at options here, both strategic and capital market options. What does that mean? What it says is we've actually got a really good wealth business. Our business is very different than our peers. It's more heavily weighted towards life insurance here in Australia. We're actually very good at managing this business. In many ways, we're industry leading on many metrics when you look at that business. But when we think about the future, we believe the best thing that we can do is really be working with our customers. And so that means that how we create long-term advantage, if you will, is the way we engage with our customers rather than the way that we manufacture the product of life insurance in particular. So that says the best thing we can do with our capital is be really focused on digital solutions, how we go to market. And maybe we're better off looking at other ways of having the product manufactured. So it may well mean that we end up selling the manufacturing part of the business. But there are other options in there. And all we've done today is announce we're going to go into that next phase of exploring those very practical options. I don't know how long that's going to take. but we're going to keep the market up to date as things happen.
And indeed, in Australia in particular, there's been a very sort of febrile political environment around banks with inquiries and an ASIC report. I mean, there's a very strong expectation now in the community that banks need to do better. Is that a big challenge when you're in the process of restructuring and trying to improve the performance of the bank?
Sure, I think it is a challenge. I mean, the difficulty is, while a lot of the transformation, it can be very internally focused, and so it's easy to sometimes forget why we're here. And one of the core pillars of our strategy is to get ourselves back to basics and remember what our core purpose is as an organisation. We're here for our customers, and we're actually here to shape a future where communities and people thrive. And we've got a really important role to play in the community and society at large. That's why we're doing the transformation, but it's not just about numbers and accounting and selling this and buying that. It's actually getting more and more of our people focused on helping customers. And we can't lose sight of that, and we're not. But I accept that there's a bit of a challenge as we go through the transition period.
Shane, in the results presentation, you talk about 3 phases of rebuilding the bank and shifting towards more sustainable growth. Can you talk us through that?
But the chart really is an illustration of the fact that we're going through a series of changes, and it's all designed to build a sustainable business for our customers and for our shareholders. And the first phase is really recognising what are we really, really good at. And let's be really focused on doing that and nothing else. Because this is a really competitive, tough environment, and we don't have time for things that we're just not the best at. So that's phase 1, getting really focused. Phase 2 is really about learning new habits, and that's about how do we run the place? How do we make decisions quickly? How do we ensure that we are streamlined in everything that we do? How do we ensure that we're always thinking about the customer first? That's going to take a little bit of time. We're a big, complex organisation, and we have to learn new habits. And like any of us in our life, learning new habits takes time to do. So we're going to do that over the next 12 to 18 months. And then in phase 3, it's really that's just running the place really well. And we want ANZ to be famous for being a really well-run company. And that's when we will get that sustainable growth, which is great outcomes for our customers and great outcomes for our shareholders.
Well, thanks very much for talking again with Blue Notes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shane.